Welcome back, and we're just going to focus on another issue which India needs to be a little concerned about because of tension with the borders along the line of actual control. These are the borders with China, and this is all happening in the eastern Ladakh. Now, if there was a skirmish which happened on the 5th of May, now we are given to understand that two Chinese helicopters of the People Liberation Army the reports came that they allegedly violated Indian airspace in eastern Ladakh on the 5th of May, 5th afternoon, and there was a skirmish. And then there was India scrambling its Sukhois. But now the army has played it down and said, no, there was no violation of the airspace, but there was an incident. It was localized. But there are a series of instances which have happened which raise a few concerns. Now, with Nepal trying to raise an objection to India building a road on our side, we building a road on our side, which is the journey for the Yatris, pilgrims to Mansarovar. The Raksha Mantri had inaugurated this road, but then there were objections that were raised, and there was also some ruffling which happened from the Chinese. And along with that, it is entire same region, the Sikkim region, where there have been multiple skirmishes in the recent past. Now, is there something that is brewing? Is there more to it than meets the eye? Because India generally likes to play down any face-off or standoff with China. We'll try and understand that in detail with Lieutenant General B.S. Jaswal and, of course, Ambassador Phunchok Sropdan, who should be joining us any moment now. But first going across to Shreya Dhondial for the latest. Shreya, I hope you're safe and well. I know you're busy covering stories around COVID-19, but this is also up your beat. So please tell me what's going on and tell our viewers what is the real story. Is there a standoff? Is there a face-off? Are tensions mounting, or all is well?
Well, if you look at the Indian Army's version, and now they have officially put out facts, in the public domain, then all is well, it seems. There are 2-3 denials that are coming in. First, there's a denial coming in that there was ever a violation of the Indian airspace. They are saying, yes, the Sukhois were flying roughly at the same time that these two Chinese helicopters were hovering near the LAC, but they were not scrambled, is what the defense establishment is telling us. They were there on a regular training sortie. Now, the one specific question that I wanted to know was, if post the 5th of May, the incident post 5th of May, and this is not just a skirmish. I mean, if you look at the sort of injuries that both sides have sustained, there are very many people on the Indian side, on the Indian troops, who have sustained some injuries. The fact is that this was not just a skirmish. This was something that was way beyond that. This was much more aggressive. So my pointed question to the defense establishment was this: is there an armed standoff now? Because if there are tensions in this area, you don't expect troops to withdraw immediately. What we are being told is that tensions were diffused on that very day. There was a brigade-level talk that happened. Two brigadiers of either side, of the Chinese side and the Indian side, spoke to each other, and things were de-escalated. Now, our sources were telling us that there has been a troop build-up on both sides, that both sides are refusing to withdraw. It's a case of who blinks first, but the Indian Army is officially saying there has been no troop build-up. So, as you rightly said, Anand, the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force downplaying what happened in the northern banks of Pegong Tso.
Right. Well, thanks for that update, Shreya. Let's just take it to Ambassador Sropdan, because Ambassador Sropdan, you've been spending a lot of time in Ladakh, and you've also been closely involved with India's equations and dealings with China. So please tell us what is going on and how should we interpret all of this, and should we link one with the other? Is it a series of developments which are happening? Because a road being built around for the Mansarovar pilgrimage around the same region, it's not the same area, perhaps it's the same region where these skirmishes have happened, and we're given to understand that they've been happening since early in the year, from February onwards, with matters coming to a head on the 5th of May.
Yeah, this is the time, the snow melts now in the mountain. And this is the season when the troop mobilization movements are more frequent now. People go for patrolling from both sides. So it's fairly routine thing, I believe, all along the border, whether in Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Ladakh or Uttarakhand. This is the same pattern which continues. And now onwards, I think the pattern of violation will go up till November or so. So there is this seasonality of the events happening. But generally, yes, there is an impression that ever since this COVID-19 thing had broken, um, the Chinese violations have gone up. I don't know whether it is related to some signaling which is going on, whether India is part of the anti-China propaganda which the West has launched. I don't know. I have no idea how each side are pursuing, but on the government side, either from here or from that side, has been extremely responsible. But at the same time, we must realize that in the last 1 month, the Chinese presence in the Indian Ocean has gone up. There have been frequent news coming up. Then the Chinese have set up a 5G tower at the Mount Everest. Then the Chinese have, opened this 40 tunnels coming up to very close to Tawang. There is a Nakchu highway railway line, which is coming in a very, very big way. Then you have Tashikurgan in Ladakh sector, in Xinjiang area of China. They are now opening a new airport, spending some $400 million there. And all along, I think, and then you have these skirmishes. Before that, there was this, new map they had issued, Skyline or something, that where most of our districts of Arunachal Pradesh has been shown as Chinese territory. So there has been a lot of assertion. Whether it is linked to overall the Chinese response to what's happening now, or is it a regular feature? To my understanding, this is a very, very routine thing which is going on, and we equally respond quite effectively. And I'm not very worried about this. This will continue. So far as this, the opening up of this gate at the Lipu Lake is concerned, that's something to do with Nepal. The objection is coming from Nepal that why did you inaugurate this gate? Obviously, this is a road which is going to Mansarovar. The Chinese are not part of the dispute, but Chinese may be telling the Nepalese to, raise objection because it's your territory. All kind of disputes have been raised, but certainly atmosphere has heightened up now, and I see that apart from United States, it is in our country where the super hawks have raised this tempo of anti-China because they are responsible for this COVID-19 Chinese virus, and all this thing has gone up in India very, very high. And Chinese are noticing this. I don't know how they respond. My own sense is that the more Chinese are worried, the more they will they'll become aggressive. That is the very psychological game which they play.
Right. So you've hit the nail, and exactly that was what I was about to ask you as a follow-up question, but you've answered that. Where is China deliberately goading Nepal into trying to make Mansarovar an issue where there is none? Lieutenant General B.S. Jaswal, do you concur that the Chinese are irritated and that's why they are seeing aggression? How should India respond? Has India responded smartly? Because there are multiple developments which are happening. Because India has also become very assertive, soft, but still very, very clearly about POJK, an area where the Chinese have got a lot of interest. So are they deliberately raking up this area in Ladakh, in eastern Ladakh, just to try and counterbalance what's happening in POJK? Because they've seen this road built, and this is Indian territory. That's an area, even Lipu Lake. If I bring in Mansarovar, allow me this. Even if I talk about Mansarovar, it's a separate issue, sir. But the Indians, Chinese, and the Nepalese have their own specific territory. It's a triangle, and India has built the road on an already established path, which is clearly on the Indian side or our side. Ji, sir.
I think Ambassador Stobden has very clearly put the entire narrative in place. I have few certain issues which will probably add on certain adrenaline to this argument which has been given. You must understand what exactly is the philosophy of the Chinese. The Chinese, they want to go in for a peaceful rise with territorial ambitions. And that's the reason it has gone in for its philosophy and phase lines. First, creeping assertiveness. This is all what you call, which is going on, all these clashes which are taking place, the transgression, endeavors and occupation, even in Samdrangchu earlier, and in certain other areas. This had a timeline Now, this is overlap into the second stage. That is the coercive strategy, because of which the build-up is taking place in South China Sea. Now, all this reaction, China has got ambitions that it will resort to coercive strategy, whether it is in the East. I've served as co-commander, and also in Ladakh. So this pattern is very common. And what Mr. Stopden had said very importantly, that these transgressions and so-called clashes, this will be on the increase every year. There are about 250, 270 transgressions by the Chinese in Ladakh sector alone. And let me tell you, we also resort to transgressions because the meaning of transgression has to be understood vis-a-vis incursion or otherwise. Transgression is because we overstepping a line of perception. So we also go, they also come. So this is a normal thing, except what took place in the Doklam Plateau, where the standoff was for 73 days. So as of now, to sum up what I've said so far, this kind of aggressive posturing by China is part of its creeping assertiveness, and now the build-up in South China Sea is part of its coercive strategy, which it has been doing starting from Myanmar, the Coco Islands, then Sri Lanka, then even towards Maldives, etc., etc.
Right, General Jaswal and Ambassador Stopden, always wonderful having these conversations because it is interesting the dynamics that are coming across. And if you look at a series of events which are happening, be it Pakistan trying to bring in Dawood and Lashkar, and there is an activation there which is happening. There is an activation on India's borders with China. There is some movement which is happening where we are given to understand that they are trying to bring in Shia denizens of Gilgit-Baltistan and try to make a Hazara a chief of Taliban and try and create some activity there and open up a fresh front, even as India becomes more assertive as far as POJK. Interesting dynamic that is playing around at a time when India is trying to woo a lot of the investors who are moving out of China. Thank you very much. Should we look at it all in a whole, or just are these localized incidents? We'll keep a close tab and watch on this and perhaps take it up at greater length in the days to come. For the moment, I have to thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us here on the newscast. We take a short break. On that note, news continues.